So what we're doing is California Smooth Keratin Smoothing Treatment. It's not a relaxer, it's not a straightener. This treatment is based in quinoa protein and a keratin amino acid delivery system. There is no formaldehyde, aldehyde, or relaxing agents like Tommy said so beautifully earlier. Okay? So this is not a relaxer. This is not a formaldehyde-based treatment whatsoever. There is no secret ingredients, and I just want to lay that out there. Okay? The results that you're going to see as a stylist, I'm going to talk to you as stylist, is 12 weeks on average of curl reduction and frizz removal. Okay? The client's going to have their natural hair texture back in 12 weeks. So there is no commitment when it comes to this service. As a stylist, I know that all of my clients are commitment phobes. Does that make sense, a commitment phobe? How many of you are stylists in this room? Just raise your hands. Okay, perfect. That's great. That's awesome. So have you ever, you'd ever tried to get your clients into like doing highlights? And the first question is, when are they going to, when am I going to have to touch this up? You know? When am I going to have that line of demarcation? Well, this service does not, there is no commitment to it because it's slowly wearing off the hair. We're not breaking those vital disulfide bonds and rearranging the texture of the hair permanently. We're using our quinoa protein fibers and we're installing them into the hair structure, creating a stent, if you will, in the disulfide bond cross-linking, which is going to temporarily, for 12 weeks, reduce the curl, remove the frizz, and it's slowly going to wear off. All right? Now, for this to happen, you have to prepare the hair properly. And of course, as a stylist, you're always going to have to do a proper consultation. Tell the client of what this service is and what to expect out of it. So there should be a good 5-minute conversation of, Miss Meg, you're having a smoothing treatment today. It's not going to make your hair pin straight. You're still going to be able to curl it. You can still have an updo. Well, Meg's hair is a little short for an updo. A little chemical texturizing, she told me earlier, was happening. What happened? You went blonde, and you went dark, then you went blue, then you went blonde. Okay. Let's go elaborate a little bit on quinoa protein and why we chose it. That's going to be a lot of questions you guys are going to have out in the field, right? Why quinoa? There's a lot of quinoa protein here in the Pacific Northwest, isn't there?
Like quinoa that you eat.
Yeah, the grain. Yeah, that's what it is. A lot of people pronounce it quinoa because that's what it looks like, but it's
How do you spell that? Do you just
Quinoa.
Okay.
Right?
Or phonetically
It's like the fourth ingredient
K-E-N-hyphen
in the
W-A.
product. Yeah.
Quinoa.
Yes. And quinoa is a grain protein fiber, but what's unique about it is that, you know, a protein fiber is like a elongated, microscopically it's like elongated fiber. But quinoa is a sticky fiber, okay? And what I mean by sticky is it has little serrated edges surrounding it. So when utilized with a keratin amino acid delivery system that sends it beneath the cuticle layer, it'll find itself to the cross-linking of the disulfide bonds. And when ironed in, the quinoa's stickiness ability creates kind of like a Velcro effect. And that's just a good analogy for you guys to use to understand. And it creates a temporary bond. And what that does is it reduces the curl, removes the frizz, without compromising the vital structure and the vital bonds of the hair. Okay? So quinoa is very unique because of its stickiness, because of its ability to adhere to itself. And with our delivery system, which is called a keratin amino acid delivery system. Listeners, it's open ears today.
It's after lunch, but I got to give him some credit.
I know. So
we're going to hose him down here in a minute.
So with that delivery system, we're able to send the quinoa in and create that temporary bond. And the bond is slowly going to wear off in the course of 12 weeks, depending on the lifestyle of the client, okay? Now, Tommy's sister, she shampoos her hair like once a week, right?
She has a name, Mike.
What's that?
She has a name.
Yeah. So, if somebody shampoos their hair twice a day, is the treatment going to last as long as the person that shampoos once a week? No. So it's all about your lifestyle. And this is going to tie it back into when I said the consultation. You have to tell the client exactly what to expect. This is the first real smoothing treatment to hit our industry. Does everybody get that?
First one.
Everybody else was cheating with formaldehyde. They were disrupting the cross-linking of disulfide bonds with formaldehyde. We are the #1 first real smoothing treatment. That's pretty huge for Tommy and I because we've been saturated in this category for quite some time now. But now that we know that we have the very first real one, we have to almost reinvent the whole description of the brand. You know, it's not going to make the hair pin straight, you know? And when I mean pin straight, I always refer to it as the angry teenager look, you know? You ever seen a teenager just flat iron their hair down? That's not funny anymore, is it?
No, it's not.
We're good.
But you know, Mike, it's ironically the time for it, too. It's not, the pin straight angry teenager look was 2 years ago. It was a thing that people were looking for. That was the introduction to this service. That's what people wanted the service for. But as we spoke earlier, and I'll let you go after this, it's evolved. It's really no longer a pin straight look. People want, women want, body, separation, movement, and shine. If you open up a magazine, if you look at this wonderful picture here, what do you see?
Movement.
Movement, no frizz, beautiful color, separation, movement, and body. That's what our product does. So if you ever find yourself in a salon comparing two brands and say, my product can do what that product does, show them the picture. This is what I can do for you. Who doesn't want to look like this? I know Michael does. All right?
It's true.
All right. Sorry, bud.
No, thank you, Tommy.
Sure.
Thank you for interrupting. No, Tommy, thank you very much. But that's exactly what we want to deliver today, is that when you're doing your consultation with your stylist, with your clients, there is no more, you know, your hair is going to be limp and lifeless with a smoothing treatment. Yes, in some scenarios it is nice to wake up and air dry your hair and it's just lifeless and it's frizz-free and it just lays flat straight. But what kind of options is that, right? You want to be able to blow your hair out one day and have a voluminous, you know, Texas look, you know? Or maybe one day you want to put some curls in it with a curling iron or set it with some hot rollers. If your hair's been compromised with formaldehyde, you lose that ability. Well, you can do it with a can of hairspray, you know? But then as soon as you go outside in humidity, because I think you guys know what humidity is about. Right?
Oh yeah.
Your curl's just gonna you know, it's just gonna fall right out. But with California Smooth, you now have options. You can tell your client, I want you to sleep in for an extra 30 minutes every day. No more having to pull your hair out with a round brush and blow dryer forever. You know, that's what we're all about. So, let's jump right into the service. So I did a very formal consultation on Miss Meg, right? She walked through the door, and we shot her up to the hotel room. I'm just kidding. I told her a little quick tutorial. And we started off with our California Smooth Clarifying Shampoo. Now, I saw Meg 3 days ago, and we did a patch test, like you're supposed to do with all your color models and smoothing models behind the, I'm just kidding. We didn't do that. It's fine. No. Basically what we did is I noticed that she's previously colored, so you want to clarify up to 3 times. Now, her scenario, 3 times is extremely resistant, coarse, curly structures. Now, Meg has been previously colored, chemically compromised, so we probably could have got away with 1 clarifying service, but Yolanda clarified her twice because she still felt a little residual of some oils in her hair. So she went 2 times, noticed that the hair was completely cleansed of all of its impurities, oils, artificial or natural, and now we've created a clean canvas to paint our beautiful California smoothing treatment on our hair. So with the clarifying shampoo, I don't want you to think it's an aggressive, high pH, color stripping clarifier. It is specifically designed for this service. It is specifically designed just to remove impurities, natural and artificial oils, raise the cuticle layer slightly without compromising previously colored hair, color pigmentation. Okay? So once that's done, we blow dry Meg 100% dry. 100% dry. And is everybody familiar with shampooing and blow drying in this room?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay. Well, we spared you from that process then. Okay? So we went ahead and got that out of the way so, so we could jump right to the next step. So that's what's been done thus far. All right. So I'm going to be putting gloves on to apply this, okay? And I don't want anybody thinking that the reason I'm wearing gloves is because I'm worried about burning my hands or anything like that from some chemical. Tommy, did you go over the cost per ounce or anything like that?
Roughly, yeah. We'll hit it again, but we all know in the audience that it's roughly how much per ounce? Anywhere between $7 and $8 depending. So about $15 is where you're going to be, somewhere in that range. For an application, which is worst case scenario, 2 ounces.
Sure. So that being said, if I were not to wear gloves, and if I were from a city like Paul, he's from Scottsdale, and it's dry and my hands are porous, as I'm applying, what are my hands going to do to the product?
Soak it up.
Your hands will soak up a good ounce of lotion, an ounce of product. So how much is an ounce? What's 15 divided by 2?
$7.50.
Just on not using gloves.
Thank you.
Does it rejuvenate your hands though?
Absolutely.
No.
It
Well,
is.
then
Yeah.
it'd be worth it.
Absolutely. This stuff will, yeah, it's great. But this is designed for the hair. So I'm just merely using these gloves as a barrier so my hands don't waste the product. I mean, $7.50 an ounce is a really expensive
So
moisturizer.
there's no reason for, I mean, if the stylist, because a lot of stylists don't wear gloves,
Sure.
and that, so if they don't, it's not gonna hurt their hands at all.
No.
Okay.
But it's professional to wear gloves when applying professional service, and it saves the overhead. And as much as I want to do you guys a lot of numbers, you know, you got to respect the stylist's overhead. It extends our relationship. Okay. Yolanda, if you want to. So what we're going to do is I'm going to section her off, right? And we're going to apply the solution while using gloves. And like I said, I'm repeating myself, but I do know that 80% of what you say is either misunderstood or not even heard. So I like to repeat myself. But I'm going to section. And sectioning is really easy when you have clips. So let me get my clips out.
Did
Another
she have
joke.
curly hair to begin with?
She has a wavy hair structure. Mostly frizz is what I'm worried about. And when I turn her around towards you guys, I'm going to show you her natural texture. Otherwise, I'd already have her pre-sectioned for you.
Okay.
But if it was pre-sectioned, then you couldn't see her natural texture. Now, mind you, this is no product, no conditioner, no leave-in conditioner. This is clarified twice and dried, and that's it.
Okay.
And you cannot apply any other solution to the hair because we don't want to create a barrier or compromise the application of the treatment. Does that make sense for everybody? Great. So, sectioning, just a basic T section, and this is just to expedite the application process. So I like to take the section around her face, out of the way here. You do have a lot of texture in your hair. Great day. Somebody just put a blindfold on and threw Chinese throwing stars at your head or something. All right, perfect. So as we go through, we're going to make sure that we're always keeping in mind that we're going to be using about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch application sections. And what I mean by that is that you want to have, remember, the viscosity of quinoa protein in this solution is a little thicker than your normal smoothing treatment. So we want to make sure that when we apply, we have a small enough section that it can penetrate through. So what I'm saying is the dump and squish technique is not going to work in this case scenario, okay?
It's like most people with my hair color.
Yeah. And when you apply this solution, ladies and gentlemen, with other brands that especially are formaldehyde based, the oversaturation is easily removed because of its liquidy viscosity, okay? With this solution, it has an extreme concentration of essential oils, a keratin amino acid, and quinoa protein. California Smooth it's a extreme concentration of all these yummy ingredients. So when we do over apply, it's a lot harder to remove that oversaturation. This is a very, if you haven't listened to me yet, listen to me now, because this is what you're gonna run into, okay? So we want to make sure that we do not over apply the solution, but if we do over apply, it's not the end of the world. There's 3 days that Meg cannot get her hair shampooed, wet, pull it back, or styled, okay? It has to lay as I've ironed it down. If we do over apply, it's going to be kind of cumbersome for her. It's going to have a little heavier feel to her hair. It's not going to compromise the treatment. It's just going to compromise the comfortable 3 days for her. Is that hit home? Everybody understand that? So would I rather the stylist under apply? No. I'd rather them over apply than under apply. But if they watch these techniques and they hear you perfectly, you can say apply sparingly but evenly. You'll set yourself up for success. All right, so
Michael, what color is the solution?
the solution is a cream color, and everybody's going to have a chance to see the solution in the bowl as we pass it around, but right now I got to work with it, so sorry.
So is it safe to say that the solution's a cream color, but it's also, the viscosity is thicker than pretty much everything on the market? So it's not a water-based where you're going to have it dripping all over the place, and you want to tip it over for us so you can see. It's,
Everybody see? Yeah.
that's
So
unique.
it has more of a, like I said, remember what did I say the quinoa protein fiber was like? Sticky. It's like a sticky protein. So it's safe to say the solution has more of a fibrous type viscosity. So I'm not going to dip my brush in the bowl and scoop out as much product as I can if I were doing, say, base color, okay? I would dip the brush in the bowl and I would swipe it once on each side, and that's plenty of product for my sectioning. That's almost too much. But remember what I said, I'd rather over apply than under, right? Okay. Thank you, Yolanda. So here's my first section. Now I'm going to do my best not to apply directly to the scalp. Anybody have any guesses why that is? Yes, Paul?
For the same reason you're wearing gloves.
Exactly. Are we removing the frizz off the scalp or off the hair? Now if I touch your scalp, it's okay, but I just wasted some product. You know how porous some people's scalps are? I mean, you can literally dump 3-4 ounces of product just on the scalp. So put your head down for me, Meg. Perfect, thank you. So I'm going to apply it almost touching the scalp, but I'm not going to apply it like you would a gray coverage base formula. I love watching people do base color on gray coverage. I think some people get a running start, right? And they throw the brush to the scalp, trying to color the hair underneath the skin, right? Trying to get that extra couple of days out of the service. But no, not with this application. So once I've hit the new growth, I'm going to work through the mid-lengths and follow through the ends. And our goal is just to see a nice, shiny coating of the California Smooth treatment. Not dripping, sopping wet, but a nice, shiny coating, okay? And this is going to be done with 1/2 inch to 1 inch sectioning. And remember, you don't have to worry about hitting every tiny little last individual hair, because we're going to be applying a processing cap, which is going to be utilizing the body heat to slightly change the viscosity of the solution, and it's going to move in areas that the stylist may have missed, okay? So this process, there is no hurry up time. How many of you have done a relaxer? Raise of hands. Okay. How many of you have would spend 2 hours applying a relaxer? It doesn't happen. I know when Yolanda and I work together, and I'm doing a relaxer back in the day, I say, Yolanda, if you get the left side, I'll get the right side. You know, I'll buy you lunch. You know, and it's like, I mean, I love watching people do, especially my sister, because she's a stylist also. She'll set her station up like she's going for war, right? Like battle. Like she'll have extra clips, combs, brushes, and when she starts applying, all I see is just like streams of combs and clips and product going on the hair. But with this solution, this is not a relaxer or a straightener. There is nothing breaking down the bonds, so you have more a relaxing time to apply. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking right now. I'd be hurrying up. So does that kind of hit home that this is not a relaxer? Okay. All right, so my next section. So what does that mean if you have a grace period? Like, we're saying your saturation time is 30 minutes, but it can stay on longer than 30 minutes if necessary. So what does that mean for you as the stylist? Anybody? If you have extra time with your saturation time, it means that,
If you're slow, it's okay.
like Tommy, yeah, if you're slow like Tommy, it's okay.
But you can also book an appointment
yeah,
in
you
that
can.
time slot.
Thank
And
you
it
very
can be
much.
flexible. Absolutely.
Chuck, you're a genius.
I know.
Don't tell him.
Wow.
I know.
So that means for a stylist, this is not going to cannibalize any double booking opportunities. I get walk-ins all the time. I'm right in downtown Charleston, South Carolina, and there's tourists, and I love to do a quick haircut while somebody's processing. Would you ever double book a relaxer?
Oh, God.
No, you're checking it every 5 minutes, right? You know, whenever you're doing a relaxer, you're always starting at the nape also. Not because of, it's easier to apply, because if anything breaks off, it's in the back of their head and they'll never see it, right?
It's amazing. Michael does double bookings, but he doesn't return an email. It's crazy. Here he is doing treatments. And
I told your sister to email you back.
By the way, let's just clarify something really quickly. He's not dating my sister.
Busy.
Absolutely not. I wouldn't allow it.
that he knows of.
Yes. He's too young for her anyways.
So that's the application. So we have saturated for 30 minutes. Now I'm going to remove our processing cap. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is just check to see if there's any oversaturation and ensure that the even distribution of the solution is there. So I'm going to take a fine-tooth comb and I'm going to work my comb from beginning to ends. And I don't see any residual coming off in the comb. I don't see anything dripping wet. Now, I said earlier, but not very specifically, but I want to make sure that everybody understands that the blow dry can't just be done in a rough dry technique. This has to be done in sections. So what I'm going to do is just blow dry a few sections, and then Miss Yolanda is going to take Meg out in the hallway so we can continue our conversation. And then once she's completely dry, then we'll explore the ironing techniques that needs to be done for the service, okay? So about an inch to a 2-inch sectioning when blow drying. And at this point, you can still clip. It's okay.
Okay.
You can clip during the processing, the saturation time rather, okay? And the reason that is because we haven't solidified the shape with the iron yet, okay? Once it's solidified with the iron, that's when the curing time, lack of a better term, happens for the 72 hours. And if they happen to make a crease or an indentation or get it slightly damp, they're going to have to blow dry, brush it out, and re-iron it back out during the 72 hours. Got it? So I'm going to utilize just a blow dryer. I like to use a condenser, but I also like to make sure it's on medium heat. Is everybody okay with that? We want to infuse the protein into the hair. We want to infuse it into the hair with the iron and not the blow dryer. Has everybody got that? So if you're blow drying and you see all this smoke coming off the hair, you probably want to turn your iron down a bit. I mean, your blow dryer down a bit. Or perhaps start moving a little quicker with your dryer. Because you can use high heat with a dryer, but if you keep it in one spot, then that's when you're going to be compromising the hair. So we want to wait, want to blow dry until we see that it's still shiny, but not a wet look to it, okay? And this is done in about an inch to 2-inch sections. At this point, if we were to use a formaldehyde-based line, this is where all the watery eyes and where all the complaints come out of when you start blow drying. You'll start seeing the hair change a little bit of form. You'll start seeing a lot of smoke coming. But as you can see with California Smooth, there is no compromising of health or hair structure or anything like that. Is that a good angle? Good. Just like so? Okay? And continue your inch to 2-inch sections until the whole head has been completely dried. At this point, guys, I would, like I said, I want the stylist to get it dry as quick as possible. But remember, if they use their hands to dry it, their hands are going to absorb that product. They spent so much time specifically applying it sparingly but evenly. Okay? A boar bristle brush is not a bad thing, but I wouldn't really recommend that either because it'll be removing the solution off of the hair because all the bristles. So a paddle brush, whatever your favorite one is, with wide bristles on it would work perfect. And just continue until it's completely dry. Now, if it's oversaturated, they will see a mild flaking at this point. So if that question does arise and they say it flaked a little bit when I dried, it probably wasted a little bit of product. No big deal. The treatment's going to be fine. And the end result isn't going to be indefinitely flaky, but it's just going to be for the blow drying process. It'll come right out. Remember that quinoa, once it's dry and is over applied, it will develop like a white little flake to it, but it's no big deal, right? Rather that happen than undersaturate, correct? All right, so everybody knows how to blow dry hair in 2-inch sections? All right, Yolanda. You want to go over there with Miss Yolanda? I have a chair out there in the hallway. And Meg, if you can take that with you. Thank you so much. And that one right there. You guys have fun. Play nice. Okay, so any questions about the saturation time or the blow dry time or anything like that? Okay. And at this point, I want to remind everyone when you're going out there and offering this service into your salon that This service doesn't take an expert level of cutting or coloring technique. We see that at this point, right? You know, and these days, these stylists out of hair schools are like born with a flat iron in their hand, right? Everybody knows how to use a flat iron. Matter of fact, in my certification classes, I have more difficulty dealing with my more seasoned stylists because they didn't grow up with a flat iron. So when it comes to delegating this service to assistants or to apprentices, they sometimes can do the treatment better than the seasoned stylist because they're so handy with the iron. Because we're about to explore the ironing technique, right? So you can delegate this service. I delegate them all the time. And so what I'm trying to say is, like Paul said, there probably will be some classes on this service, but it doesn't take that expert level of application like it did when we just learned how to do a full head of foils, you know? I mean, like the origami story I said earlier, right? Okay, so that's that. So once she's 100% dry, I want everybody to listen to this very carefully because this is the most important part. We're going to demo it here in a second. The ironing. We're going to take microfine sections, okay? And the reason why Tommy and I decided not to put a specific number on how big the section is, and I love doing this, everybody use their thumb and their pointer finger and hold up what they think is an inch. Now keep it up there. You can do it. Now hold it there. Chuck, come on, team player. All right. Now everybody, look at everybody else's inch.
I think we're all even. Yep.
Well, girls.
We're close-ish.
Close-ish. So if you say an eighth of an inch to somebody, it might be a half an inch to somebody else. Or if it's a man and a woman's inch, it's completely different.
That's funny you said that.
So when we're explaining the ironing technique, try not to put a number on it because everybody doesn't have a ruler in their back pocket. Okay? You want to make sure that this is said microfine sections, and I want you to talk about perhaps say as long as you can see through the section, as long as you can read your watch through the section. That's going to ensure that every single hair is going to have access to the plates of the iron that they decide to use. Okay? And once again, in your manuals it will say there's 3 different temperatures for this service. 400 degrees for fragile or chemically compromised hair, 425 for normal hair, and 450 for resistant, resilient hair. Yeah, so we're gonna begin ironing at the nape. Okay, remember what I say, what type of sections?
Micro.
You have to read
Where
your watch.
where they
You
can
have to
see through them.
Yep.
You can tell what time it is.
Exactly, perfect. And this process is going to start at the nape. Now, have you noticed how I sectioned her hair? This is not textbook, you know, pivot point sectioning right here. What I've done is I've sectioned to help the stylist utilize the width of a plate of an iron and sectioning to expedite the ironing process. So I sectioned out the sides from her temples to the parietal ridge to wherever she parted on top, just enough where I can go up the side of her head right here in one pass. And if I did 4 sections, you know, like the hot cross bun, they say, the cross, I would probably have to split that in 2 because it'd be too wide for me to grab with the iron. So I'm working, what do they call, smart, not hard. And I section just so I can finish it off in 1 stroke going up. But everything in the back is just one bigger section, and it's sectioned off in 3, so it's pre-sectioned, so we can move right through it instead of having to deal with all that hair. Now, just off of looking at her ends right now, they look 10 times better than what they did, just off of applying, saturating, and blow drying. Okay? Right. So what you want to do right here, I'm probably going to utilize a temperature about 400 to 425, just because she's previously colored and chemically compromised.
What texture is her hair?
Her hair is a finer texture, but she's got a decent amount of it. So it's skinny, skinny hair,
But a lot.
but a good amount of it. Yeah. I don't say fine hair anymore. I learned that fine is a negative, you know, but if you tell somebody they have skinny hair, they're like, ooh, thank you.
Working on my body.
I like that. Skinny hair.
Yes, Mr. Tommy.
On me.
What's the integrity of the hair? So we know that obviously she's had previous hair color. Is her hair more susceptible to
Terrible.
heat damage?
Awful.
Is it?
Yeah. Just kidding. I would consider chemically compromised would be a Yeah, it is nice. Yeah, you have skinny, very chemically compromised hair.
Do you have to take that in consideration depending on the temperature of the iron?
Exactly. So just like we spoke of earlier with iron temperatures, I'm probably going to utilize a 400 to 425 degree heat. Okay. Now, of course, I'll start off with 400, especially in this section right back here, right? And I'll go up if I see that the hair is being infused properly. Now, we always do this in the back of the head. That way, if the hair burns off, she'll never see it, right?
Good.
Still listening. They're still listening. This is good. No, but you definitely want to follow the guidelines. So what I'm going to do is utilize this section that I can see through. And if you're doing curlier hair structures, this is really important. Everybody paying attention because this is the most important part of the service. If you're doing somebody that has more of a resilient curl pattern, as soon as you let go of the hair, the curl will revert. No matter how you blow dry it, the curl will revert back into itself. Does everybody understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to have tension with your middle and your index as you work through. Okay, Yolanda, come over here, please. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to comb through the hair one good time. Okay? Can you stand on my left, please? You're going to be my iron person. Thank you. So one good time, and I'm going to keep tension with my middle and my index. That's going to pull out that wave pattern if it existed, right? Mm-hmm. She has a mild wave pattern, but more frizz. So we don't have to worry about that, but I'm giving you a scenario, okay? So once we pull that out, now we can iron the base and create our shape, okay? If we don't create our shape, if we don't hold tension, see there is a mild wave to it. Everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
If I just iron that, I'll be ironing that wave into the hair. But we're not trying to do that. We're trying to adhere the quinoa protein in a straight form. That way during the 72 hours as it's curing and you rinse it out, that's what's going to reduce the wave pattern and reduce the styling time. Everybody got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Sorry to be a little redundant there, but it's important. Thank you, Yolanda. So I'm going to work the base. 1, 2, 3. Before I go through the ends, I'm going to chase the comb through the ends, just like so. Everybody see the dissipation?
Mm-hmm.
We never said there wasn't going to be any dissipation, but there is no black cloud of smoke that you usually would see with a formaldehyde-based line. You can flat iron virgin hair with nothing on it, and you'll still get dissipation from natural oils, okay? When you use anything above a certain temperature, you're going to get that dissipation, okay? So we're going to do this. How many times does your manual say to do this?
7 to 10.
Very nice. Who said that? She gets a cookie.
No.
Another one?
Right? 7 to 10. How many passes is this?
Several.
About 8. Yeah. Right. So 1, 2, 3 at the base with your tension with your middle and index, and then you can move on to the next section. Now, since I've pre-sectioned her hair out, I can drop this one section here, and I don't have to worry about dealing with all that other stuff. Okay? So now I'm going to take my microfine section, another one. Right? Pinch and pull down. Now I'm going to do a couple of these sections. And does anybody have any questions about this? Because this is the most important part, ladies and gentlemen. No questions?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So comb through. Tension with my middle and my index. Good angle for you there? Perfect. 1, 2, 3 at the base. And before we go through the ends, I want to chase the comb. If you don't chase the comb, does anybody have any idea what would happen?
Could tangle.
Tangle.
Would you lose your tension? I mean, your.
Not necessarily, because the fine-tooth comb doesn't add that much tension. We've already set the shape in at the base with our...
I think you lose a
It
rhythm.
could cross over or something, I don't know.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Straight.
you get a cookie too. So, by chasing the comb right before the iron goes through the hair,
Mhm.
it's going to keep the hair straight.
Right.
If we don't use a comb and decide to use our hands, it's going to waffle the ends together. So that first pass, you must chase the comb. So you must keep the comb directly behind the iron, or in front of the iron rather. And we're always going to chase it as we go through for the first pass, because we're creating the shape. Once the shape is created, then we can do our rhythm of 7 to 10. Got it? All right. And everybody can see what her hair's feeling like. I mean, it's just amazing of what the keratin amino acids and the quinoa protein can do with California Smooth, because her hair was definitely severely chemically compromised. And I'm going over it with about 425 degrees of heat. I mean, if anything, that should have caused more damage. But by infusing these ingredients, it repairs the complete hair structure. And if you just did a color service immediately before this, because we can do a color service same day, it would infuse the artificial color pigment chains. So it'll actually increase the longevity of a color service. Isn't that nice?
Mm-hmm.
Good, 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 good. Thank you, Londa. So one more section, and then we're going to open it up for question and answers on the entire brand called California Smooth.
Are there any challenges with two people ironing at the same time?
Not necessarily, but everybody has a different ironing technique.
Yeah.
I recommend using the same iron and possibly somebody trained by the same person,
Okay.
because everybody has a little different of technique.
Yep.
Yolanda likes to bevel a little bit under, which if you have a really kind of messed up haircut, that'll disguise those really funky layers, right? I iron straight out from the head because I'm very systematic, right? So thank you, Yolanda. So there's plenty of times where my assistant and I have done one side and the other,
Okay.
but she knows exactly how to iron because I've been working with her for several months now.
Right, because that's an issue sometimes with chemical-based products.
Sure, absolutely, and it
Okay.
should be. You know, you ever heard the story? You know, the same person has to roll my whole perm,
Yeah.
kind of thing, because one curl will be different than the other. Yeah. So so that's the technique right there.